in Calgary. The recording
That's
is
cool.
in progress. We don't have any Peruvian superheroes, but we got some supernatural legends. We've got apparently Manco Capac. He started the Incan Empire by just walking out of Lake Titicaca. So says the legend. He says, "Hey, let's." And they took over all of Peru and Bolivia, good portion of South America, and held it for a couple hundred years. That's the legend of Manco Capac. But speaking of superheroes, let's light up the chat window. If you could have one superpower, you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Yeah, let's light up the chat. Fly, I love it.
Sarah, what am I thinking right now? You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking, where is Sarah?
She's got the power of invisibility.
Yeah, there's another power right there. Very cool. Jim, I don't want to know what you might do with that stamina, but very cool.
Oh, I know what he did.
What I did with it when I was 20.
I wanted you to make you spit that coffee when you try. Guys, I timed that one, but okay. What do you say? You've majored in cannabis and coitus? Was that it?
Yes, that was my double major in college.
Jeff, what have I done? I'm actually going to see. So Sarah and Frederick, I didn't greet you yet. Okay, well, the reason I asked that question is because as a business owner, now I'm trusting you're in this room now because you're some kind of solopreneur. You're not on your lunch break from some factory job to come here. And if you are, welcome, I'll talk fast. But you're in the solopreneur world or the business world. And that means you have certain superpowers as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. You have the power of, I think I saw mind reading, you have the power of telepathy as a business owner. The deeper you are immersed in what you do, the more you know what other people are thinking on that subject. You can read people's minds. And you have the power of clairvoyancy. You can tell the future. The more you know your business and what you do for other people, you have the power of clairvoyancy. You can see the future for somebody who works with you, depending on their level of commitment, depending on your commitment to what you do. You also have the power of ubiquity. You're in all places at all times. This is my favorite superhero image that I can find. And you have the superpower, my answer to the question. My answer to that question, if I could have any superpower, what would it be? It would be the power of healing. And when you run a business that is aligned to who you are as a person, you can cure pain, you can cure illnesses, you can take away problems that cause physical and emotional pain. Reiki, perfect example there, Jeff. That is a superpower. I'll take that over flying. I bump into enough things walking down the street, I wouldn't want to know what might happen if I could start flying. As for X-ray vision, there are some things that are just better left unseen. But it all amounts to whether or not your business is, the name of this webinar is Align Your Business to Your True Identity. When your business is lined up to who you are at every level. And what does that actually mean? Now, before I put up the next one, raise your hand if you know the name Abraham Maslow. Maslow, there we go, good. Okay, now, Maslow's hierarchy. How many levels are there? There you go. Rob's waving hello, but he got the right answer. Yes, there are 5 levels to Maslow's hierarchy, and those are right here. Now, I did a test run with this yesterday. People said this was too small, but if you spotlight me, then you can read it. And this is Maslow's hierarchy of 5 human needs that people have. Every decision you make in your life and in your business satisfies one of these 5 levels. If you're working just day labor, or scavenging and selling, or doing something criminal, you're probably just meeting your basic survival needs. something physiological. Yeah, I got the power of being invisible. Oh, now it works good. Your basic physiological needs. Hopefully that's not anybody's motivation or incentive to work, but there are jobs where it's the only reason. If I don't work, I don't eat. Now, many people are right here at that second level of safety. Some would say that's the working poor. Me, I don't trust anybody who's never been here. If you've never been in a place where you're working just to put a roof over your head and scratching to survive, that's certainly a character builder. And so if you've been here at some time in your life, that's something to be proud of. That struggle, that grind will never show up on a resume, but that's the real test of your character. Once you go beyond just providing the basic, then the work that you do provides a certain level of satisfaction. We start with the social and then the personal satisfaction. Funny story. My first job out of college, I was talking to Kenny about this yesterday. They said the same, we both worked in banking. No offense if you work in banking, somebody has to, but that's not me. And even though it got me some kind of social, grace and, hey, congratulations, you graduated from college and now you're working at a bank. That's right. I got my own business cards. I got a fancy corporate pen, but I was miserable. Worst job I've ever had. I left the banking world and went back to work at a gym as a personal trainer, and people laughed at me. See, you're a personal trainer. You went to college for nothing. You just wasted your education. Well, maybe short term, but I got a sense of personal satisfaction from that, from teaching and from training and coaching. And I'm very happy to say I've been in this land of that personal esteem, feeling good about the work that I did. But there's one little problem, and that is I was doing somebody else's work. I was teaching somebody else's curriculum. I was building somebody else's business. The motivation, the reason why we do what we do is this right here called self-actualization. Everything you do and everything you say is a reflection of who you are. In business, they call that, well, in business and in life, we call that self-actualization. It's the top of the pyramid. And today we're going to reach the top of that pyramid together. It looks like that all-seeing eye, like Jay-Z does. So it means today we are going to join the Illuminati. And if we don't join it, we can start our own. And that comes through self-actualization. And Kenny and I have put this together to help you streamline and channel exactly what you do, so people know exactly who you are and exactly what you do and exactly how you can help people at the highest levels through organic branding and through authentic messaging. There's two components, two presenters. I love it when a plan comes together. And I'm willing to admit, Kenny's got a real cool background there. So he's going to show you how he does it and why it's so important with organic branding. Kenny, it's all yours.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Mike. I always, appreciate, you dropping your nuggets and everything like that. Very, very, very knowledgeable individual right there. So once again, my name is Kenny Perry. I am the founder of Organic Mindset Agency. So we're a digital marketing agency specialize in SEO, online ads, social media growth, branding, and website development and revision. So what I wanted to ask everyone in the room, you can put it in the chat if you need to. Are you promoting yourself or your business? That's a question people struggle with. The reason why I ask this is because there's people that want to promote themselves, whether it's through LinkedIn, whether it's through Alignable, however you're promoting yourself through social media is a key component as to, pretty much what you're doing for your business or not. Or are you promoting your business, which is a brand? It's funny because me and Mike had conversations about this. He's a fit presenter and he's really more so to putting his face in front of the camera and whatnot. I'm a lot different. And this is the reason why this webinar is going to be valuable. I like to actually promote the brand instead of myself. So I'm going to get into that. So if anyone could put in the chat whether or not they promote their brand or themselves, actually, because I just wanted to just see here before we open up the conversation, before I dive deeper into it. Brand in both. Okay, perfect. All righty. The differences between promoting yourself and promoting your brand. So the first thing I want to dive into is promoting your brand. So when me and Mike first connected, Mike really expressed, he's like, why is your website faceless? Why are you very anonymous in terms of, putting yourself out there? So basically, I'll dive into more of himself because he likes to brand himself more than I do. I'm more of a behind the scenes, promote my brand, promote my color schemes, things like that. So when it comes to personal identity, it focuses on building a personal brand. Basically, another option, and I would say a great feature about this is you can actually promote a unique selling proposition, which highlights your individual skills, expertise, and qualities to set you apart from others. Okay, so whether what you're posting on social media, whether what you're posting on LinkedIn, whether you're posting on your website, blogs, whatever it is, it's setting yourself apart because you're really promoting yourself. Whether you have a self-titled, LLC or whatever it is, it's really, really important to get your message across from that. Networking. How you network? You emphasize building relationships and connections to individuals in your industry and target audience. So when you go to networking events, you're introducing yourself, you're handing out business cards, or you're doing virtual online, you're really promoting yourself as opposed to your business. Now, on the flip side, this is myself. So I'm more into promoting the business. My main reason is because I want my brand to grow. I want to be the face behind the brand that you don't see as much. I like to compare myself to the voice in Charlie's Angels, or for people that that grew up in the '90s. Inspector Gadget, remember the claw on there, Inspector Gadget, where you just don't really see his voice. You don't really see him, but you see the claw moving in his voice. So that's how I like to compare myself to. So basically, the key components as to why I like to do this: my business identity creates a distinct brand identity and image for my business that separates my personal identity. So therefore, I like to be a little bit different from my business. So I jump into superhero mode when I turn from Kenny Perry into Organic Mindset Agency. A value proposition in terms of it pretty much communicates with the unique value and benefits of my business and offers to customers. So I do a great job in terms of really creating that online brand. So it's like my superhero. So I'm myself, Kenny Perry is kind of like my Clark Kent or Peter Parker, any superhero you want to use. And then I jump into my superhero mode when I go into Organic Mindset Agency. So the customer relationship management, and it also involves building and maintaining relationships with customers to generate loyalty and repeat business. So that's what I like to do. So when you work with me, you're working with the brand. Whether it's Think Organic or any of the other, hashtags or slogans I like to use, it's built to my brand. So I want people to type in the chat. I just want to get some feedback here. Why is it important to have a unique logo? Stand out, okay. Immediate identification, okay, it's a great, really good one. Quick recognition to represent your brand, okay. We know who you are, to communicate what your brand personality values are, part of your brand. Awesome, these are phenomenal answers, everyone, I appreciate that. So now I'm gonna ask everyone here, who's all wearing a watch right now? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so listen, I'm an Apple Watch wearer. I'm an Apple fanatic across the board, so that's what I like to use. So I'm actually going to dive in a little bit here when it comes to the watch. Apple Watch, awesome, great choice. So why is it important to have a unique logo that resonates? So what came to my mind is the Rolex. So Rolex is the gold standard of watches. So it's like, when you really want to stand out amongst the pack, they have pretty much created an identity of having the top tier watch that you can find there. Like when you walk into a room, you see someone with a Rolex, it's a statement. So what I like about it is the slogan is a crown for every achievement. So that's really given almost like a braggadocious, but also very regal approach to it, because you see the logo is very simple. It's a crown. It gives you a very regal royalty approach there, and then Rolex written underneath it. So it's giving you that brand aspect that the logo is telling the story as well. So when you see that logo, you know exactly how it resonates and it pretty much gives like the overall opinion that it's something that's really, really, really powerful there. So that's the thing I like about the Rolex. So when it comes to driving, what do you consider the best car out there, or a car that's reliable and whatnot? So you can start typing in the chat. Or even from a branding perspective, you think about vehicles that brand themselves, like what brands come to mind? Subaru, Toyota, BMW, that's a really good one. Toyota or Hyundai, Ford, Mercedes. And they call Mike the Bike. So Mike and myself are both avid bikers. So we like to be pretty much environment friendly and, ride our bikes around, to get that exercise in before, obviously, well, where I'm at before the snow comes and our bike's at, it's a year round thing there. He really gets to enjoy being on the bike. So that's a good thing there. All right. The reason why I asked that, because one comes to mind is the BMW. So whoever typed BMW, it's a great choice. Now, as you can see here, the logo is, so I really stared at this logo for probably about a good 15, 20 minutes. And I was trying to figure out what it was. So then I realized, okay, it looks like it's a wheel as well as a steering wheel as well. So that really gives a really nice approach to their logo, to their branding. Now, what I really like about BMW is the fact that the slogan is the ultimate driving machine. So it's telling you exactly what it is. And at the same time, talking about how great the performance is on this actual vehicle. So that's another thing that I want to say is when it comes to like the ultimate driving machine, it really, really makes it stand out in that aspect in terms of how they promote the product. So since we talked about watches, we talked about driving. So a day where you want to eat something that's not the most healthy and you actually want to feel gross afterwards, but from a branding aspect, they've done an exceptional job over the years. When you think about something that doesn't make you feel good, but if you're having a cheat day, if you're into fitness and you want to try something that has, a really nice taste to it, what comes to mind? Just type in the chat some companies that come to mind when it comes to that. Five Guys, chocolate cake, Popeyes, Taco Bell. Those are great. Anything with sugar. Bembos, love it. All right. So what comes to my mind is KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. So the Colonel here, Colonel Sanders is known as, the face of Kentucky Fried Chicken. He's built this brand up over the years. So what I really like about the slogan here is finger licking good. So, it's kind of disgusting in a sense, but at the same time, you gotta love it because it's talking about how you eat it, you feel kind of like disgusted afterwards, but you know that during that time it was fulfilling and you were able to, go ahead, you ate it. It was so good to the point that it's finger licking good. So what that's telling you essentially, for if you're diving into the psychology of the consumer, is it's telling you, okay, like listen, the presentation of it might not be the greatest. If you're a health nut, it's not going to have the nutritional value you may be seeking, but it's finger licking good. So we're so that confident in our product that when you actually eat it, it gets to the end of it that it's finger licking good. So therefore, that slogan alone really resonates and lets the individual know how good it is and why you should keep coming back. So the next question is, if you need to make a phone call and you're trying to get in touch with people, who's your carrier that you generally use when it comes to that? You start typing in the chat, AT&T, Bell, for my fellow Canadian, Verizon, T-Mobile, Verizon. Okay, perfect. Transition to the next one. So Verizon is the one that comes to mind. So the thing is Verizon is one of the largest telecommunication companies actually in the world, US based. Now, their slogan, "Can you hear me now?" It's very satirical. And the reason why it comes to mind is because I've seen commercials where it's like, "Can you hear me now?" And they're walking like 5 meters ahead. And it's like, "Can you hear me now?" You're 5 meters ahead. So what they're basically saying in a satirical manner is that no matter where you are, whether you're in a very remote area, whether you're in an elevator, whether you're in underground parking, their service is so reliable that you'll always be able to hear them. But they actually poke fun at themselves. So this is a different psychology in terms of understanding the component of "Can you hear me now?" and that their service is at that much of a high level that they can actually poke fun at themselves, make it satirical, and make people actually want to continue to work with them. So that's essentially why I used Verizon in that aspect. Why having a slogan is important for your business. So the main reasons is because it differentiates your business from the competition, increases brand awareness and recognition, generates customer interest and curiosity, grows sales and customer loyalty, and also repurposes all advertising for promotional channels. Enter the fit presenter.
Where did you find that?
There he comes back again.
Okay, well, you can leave. Well, you can see it here. I searched the world high and low for the greatest graphic designer to design the greatest logo in the world. And I found out they charged too much. I did it myself. But as
Yeah, I
you
was
can
trying to
see,
figure out if that's an X or is that a
Yeah,
T at
I
the end
knew
of
you
it?
were
Because
gonna
I'm
say
trying to
that.
understand that. Like,
That's not a,
is
yeah.
it the fixed presenter or is it the fit presenter? Because it
The
just looks
original
like
idea
he's
was,
struggling with his reps, and I know you got to help him to get there and stuff like that. So
okay, well, as you can see, Fit, it's very simple. FIT is my system that I use, therefore the name Fit Presenter. And obviously, as a speaking coach with an emphasis on the fitness industry, you have two elements there, speaking, and there's the letter I, somebody speaking. And by the way, okay, I'm not going to ask you to put it in the chat. Just think of an answer and I'll tell you. Is that a podium or a lectern? What is it? Don't say it because you're probably going to get it wrong. It is a lectern. The podium is the thing you stand on, like the Olympic podium. The lectern is the thing you stand behind. So if nothing else, you'll remember that. But the I is a lectern. And then the T, not the X, the T is the overhead press. So a lot of people say it looks like an X. I said, yeah, Fixed Presenter is my next service, speaking coach for professionals in the home repair business. But that's my logo and real simple. Enter the Fit Presenter is what I use as a slogan as a speaker. For the speech coaching, I'm usually talking to people one-on-one. So to throw a slogan at them, enter the Fit Presenter might be a little overwhelming. Okay, so I take it from here, Kenny. We can kill the share. Okay, thank you very much. Well, what you heard from with Kenny was branding, to establish that base of who you are and what you represent. And that takes precedence over what you actually do for a business is when you align your business to who you are. And I liken it to a superhero because if you're Clark Kent, then your business is Superman. So once you have that basis, then we need your authentic messaging. And I want to teach you how to ruin a presentation in one sentence. Are you ready? One sentence to kill the presentation. And please don't write this down, because if you do, you might forget why you wrote it down. And next thing you know, you think it's a good thing. Okay, you ready? One sentence, kill the presentation. Let me tell you a little something about myself. What's the problem with that sentence? Well, there are a lot of things. Number one, in any presentation you give, you have three components: the speaker, the audience, and the material. Once you say, let me talk about me, the focus is now on yourself as the speaker. The speaker saying, we're going to talk about me. And what information do you get? Anything of value? No. You get some biographical. This is where I was born. This is my favorite color. Here's my dog Sparky, and this is his favorite. Nothing that's of value to the audience. Beyond that, we're going to hear a lot of bragging, a lot of credentials. Now, if you open up with your credentials, what is that telling your audience? I have a master's degree from here. I have something from there. I won the school spelling bee back in 1988. By the way, I won the school spelling bee back in 1988. I make light of that because it's silly, but people throw their credentials out. Why does a speaker lead with credentials? There are two reasons why. One of two reasons why. Either A, I want to establish that I'm superior to you. Or B, I don't think I'm good enough. And I'm trying to prove that I'm good enough by telling you my credentials. Those credentials, now we have some people in the science world, the fitness world, so I'm going to take a chance here and I'm going to put up this image and this. Now, I'm not a chemistry major, but allegedly this is an oxygen atom. I don't know if it has the right number of electrons. But what's the problem with an oxygen atom, an O1 oxygen atom? What's the problem? You know what that's called? You know the name of that? A free
radical.
Thank you. Somebody with it, by the way. Let me tell you a little something about Lori. She has a PhD in chemistry or
Chemical engineering.
chemical engineering. That's like somebody, I know you're going to bail me out. Now, a free radical runs through your body, and I like to be a free spirit in my life, but I want my oxygen atoms bonded as O2, because an O1 oxygen atom is going to run through your body and cause great damage. That's why we need to pass the red wine and the dark chocolate and embrace the wellness. In your presentation, your credentials, if they're not bonded with a story of any kind, they are free radicals. And all they're doing is causing damage to the rapport that you have with your audience. So I always say pepper it in. And think about anything you want your audience to know about you. There are four ways to introduce your credentials. Number one, the person introducing you can say it, well, just a little something. You can start off with some personal credentials, include them in your stories, but also in a Q&A. Once you get to the Q&A, you can drop the hammer. Let everybody know all about yourself. But an introduction, you don't want that. And you also don't want, now there are personal stories to tell. Once you wrap that information up in a personal story, then you can get a lot more. If you tell a story that has value and you just happen to be graduating from West Point at the time, you can throw it in there. But just credentials on their own, I know it's very natural to do that. I want to encourage you to that today. And the reason for is, like I said, we have three components. We want to put the focus on the audience. Hopefully we've done that effectively today by asking you about where you're from, what you do, what your superpowers would be, and engage that audience first. Anytime you engage that audience, what's happening now is you're building a genuine rapport with that audience. Now they want to know. And you can probably tell from my background, this is a very important way to do it. Now, what are the stories to tell that have value to the audience and tell people about who you are? I've got four. Number one, here's a question that everybody here is going to have a different answer. What do you know about what you do that you wish that everybody knew? I'll put the prompt here in the chat window. And keep it specific to your business, please. In the fitness world, I would say, well, there's a lot. Spot reduction is a myth. Sit-ups don't make your belly fat go away. Sorry, no matter how many sit-up machines. They catch self-sabotage. Good. Bruce, tell me one thing you can do, and in the chat too, one thing you can do for clients that they didn't know existed. They take great pictures with video and drones. I've never played around with a drone before. That's I want to try that out. Good, Bruce. That's good. And we're going to get to that. That's the next one. And here's the question. How did you learn that? How did you learn that thing that you wish that everybody knew? If you could have one story that tells how you learned it, that is how you make a connection. Because there's a saying in speaking and storytelling, you can be the hero of your story, but you cannot be the guru of your story. Somebody has to teach you that lesson. So instead of being the all-knowing, you can be the messenger. When you're speaking, you're carrying somebody's message in a way that makes you unique and makes your audience better off. Another story is always a misconception. And that's why I like it, Bruce, that more people have misconceptions that you're only manufacturing. But what is one misconception that you have had about what you do? And I'm going to put that, and then please, no cliches, oh, it's a lot harder than I thought it would be, or don't judge a book by its cover. Something deeper than that. And I'll put that in the chat as well. If you can tell one misconception that you have had in the past about what you do. A numbers game, you mean with sales, Diamond? Yeah, just get in front of 1,000 people, and if 3 people sign up, yay, it's a numbers game. I don't like those numbers. Cool. Yes, Sarah. I've caught myself in that too. It's less than 10% of what you do is what you do. Question. Okay, and the same rule applies. How did you learn that? When you tell that story of how you learn, you take them on that discovery journey, but it also tells people that you're not perfect, that you have misconceptions as well. Now, what does that audience think when you come forward and say, well, I used to believe this, but now I don't? Are they going to say, what? You're not perfect? Well, forget it. No, they're not going to say that. I'll give you an example for myself. As a fitness trainer, I used to believe that golf was a zero impact sport. Raise your hand if you like to play golf. Any golfers in here? All right, cool. All right. Is golf a zero impact sport? No. I used to think, come on, I don't play golf. Maybe because I'm too fidgety, maybe because I'm left-handed, I can't find good clubs. Either way, golf is not for me. So I used to believe that until one day a client came in saying, hi, Mike. I said, what happened to you? She said, golf. I had been working with this client for about a year, and she went from being a deconditioned couch potato to a year later running a half marathon. And she crushed it. Came in 2 days later saying, oh, that was fun. She played 1 round of golf. She ended up coming in twisted up like a pretzel. It turns out that even though it's a light stick, you have to rotate that stick at least 270 degrees. And most people turn at the spine instead of the hip like they're supposed to, and arch their back in that dreaded C curve to generate the torque to drive that little ball a couple hundred yards, plus the short game, times 18 holes, plus prolonged standing, long walking. Golf takes its toll on the body. So I learned something that day. Did you just learn something? You take your audience on that learning journey with you. It's a lot better than grandstanding. It's a lot better than you should giving advice. You take people on that learning journey with you. And there's one more story that has to be told. And so many people open with this story, but my experience tells me this is your closer. And that is the origin story. You are in business for yourself because, most likely, and again, we know each other, I've met almost all the people here. You're here in business for yourself because something went terribly, terribly wrong in your professional life. Maybe even your personal life. Something happened where getting a job was no longer an option. Salary, benefits, a nice office, paid vacation, a cleaning staff to keep the bathrooms nice and clean. Not where, for some reason, that's no longer an option for you. Just like for me, the only option you had left professionally was to jump out of the airplane and figure out how the parachute works on the way down. And that is the world of entrepreneurship. That story, for so many people, they want to open with that story. That story is your closer. For the same reason I talked about in the beginning, because the focus is on yourself. When you keep adding value and adding value and adding value to your presentation, they're going to build up more and more mystique saying, who is this person? And then you tell them who this person is. It's not, sometimes you have to break things to write that story down. But if you find that, that's when you know the story works. And that story has to have conflict. And I'm seeing conflict in the chat window now. Corporate downsizing, couldn't find a pathway. There could be a story there. I hear political circumstances, conflict, getting fired. Lori told me the story, and again, that's definitely a story, as long as it's your closer. Okay, once you can tell that story with conflict and then elevate that conflict, the solution to the conflict in that story is your product, is the solution to your audience or your potential clients' problems as well. No problem. Just to wrap up those 3 stories, I said there were 4, we'll go with those 3. What you wish everybody knew, what misconceptions you've had, so you self-disclose, and then your origin story. Those will resonate with your clients and your audience, where now you have just told your audience who you are. You told them a lot more than just a little something about myself without listing the biography. Now they know who you are, and now you've built up that trust. It's pretty good in a pretty short amount of time. And these are stories you've probably been eager to tell anyway. I want to tell you my story, and then we'll open up to some questions, and then Kenny's got some things to talk about as well. But well, Rob and I have a very special day we're celebrating this Saturday. What is it, Rob?
Veterans Day.
That's right. And cheers to you. It's only water, but here you go. But tomorrow is the precursor to Veterans Day. And all the jarheads and gyrenes are going to be celebrating our own special day. And that is Marine Corps birthday, 248 years of the Marines. I joined the Marines thinking I was going to be a Marine forever. But, oh, thanks, Lori. Appreciate it. We'll be in touch. Hey, Lori, you know what? Let's put the contact info in the chat now, because Lori has got a book being launched pretty soon. I want to make sure everybody has access to it. And it's not all about chemical formulas either. So please put your contact information in the chat now. This way, and while you're doing that, I'll tell you my story. I joined the Marines thinking that this is me forever. Sports guy, I like to be intense. I like to keep a short crop haircut. These days I don't have a choice. The Marine Corps is perfect. Then they stationed me in a supply depot in the California desert. And I said, okay, this is not going to be forever. Once I got out, I thought I was going to take over the world. And this was the year 2000. I said, when I get out of here, Barstow, California is hot and it's ugly and it's boring. I want to go someplace cold and beautiful and exciting. I chose Anchorage, Alaska. Fast forward, I said, once that plane landed in the middle of the summer, midnight sun lighting up the Chugach Mountain Range, I said, this is where I plant my flag and this is where I take over the world. 9 months later, I'm doing entry-level manual labor. I'm a college freshman, bombing most of my classes, including public speaking. I got thrown out of 2 apartments in 2 months. Then I finally said, I'm going to get my own apartment. No more roommates, no more dorms, no more barracks, just me, my 4 walls, my empty refrigerator. And that's when I said, this is the time to do something big, make a big change in my life. And I moved into my apartment on May 1st, 2001. On May 3rd, I went to my first Toastmasters meeting. I was the Great Land Toastmasters in Anchorage, Alaska. As soon as I walked through that door, I said, this is where I unleash it. I can be entry-level, start at the beginning everywhere else, but here in Toastmasters where I'm going to tell my story. I hit the ground running. It is great for public speaking. I've been in for 22 years now. I'm currently a member of 2 clubs, one here in Peru, actually meeting right now, and I'm also the president of Toastmasters at Palm Beach State College in Florida. Gotta love the internet. What happened was, back then I was in my 20s, and the whole world ran on my opinions. And once I ran out of opinions, I ran out of material. So I think I presented more. I think I spoke more in the first year than I did in the following 10 combined. And now these days I speak minimum twice a week. I'm a speaker. Plus I have other material. Plus I have keynotes like this. What made the difference? The difference is right behind you in storytelling. So since you've come join us on this webinar, I'll make you an offer you can't refuse and put my contact in as well. I have partnered up somewhere along this journey. Now you're going to learn from a lot of people as you go on in speaking. Somebody's going to stand out as your mentor. And for me, that mentor was Craig Valentine, 1999 world champion of public speaking. And following him for a long time, but just a couple of years ago, I got to know Craig really well. In fact, he's the one who certified me as a world-class speaking coach. And I'm part of Craig's inner circle. And Craig and I have collaborated on a product called the Essentials of Storytelling. And this is an 80-minute module, and it has everything you need to put together a story that captivates your audience and tells people who you are, to make it as authentic and organic as possible. Now, the module is $50. I can't discount it. Come to Peru, I'll make you a sandwich. What I can do for you today is if you order it today, that'll be right now. If you order it today, and what I'll do is I'll give you 10 minutes, you send me a 10-minute video, and I will give you world-class coaching on that video complimentary. I just upgraded my Dropbox. You send me a video, and I'll give you coaching on your content, story sequencing, development, conflicts, everything to turn a story that you might think was not relevant into something that captivates an audience and builds your business. That's available at the link below. Now, I don't give out any free coupons like Kenny does. So Kenny's going to top that. But either way, this is all your authentic messaging. Let's go back to Kenny and how you can build on your organic branding as well. Kenny, take it away.
Alrighty, no, that was awesome. No, it was a lot of gems dropped there, Mike, and always the knowledge that you give is just so insightful. So I want to ask people right now, if you type it in the chat, I'm going to pull up my logo. So what do you see here? Organic or mindset? I just want to just open the chat up for a quick second. Curious to see what people see here. They look at the logo. Organic tree. Both. I'm cheating because you told me already. Love it. Organic. Very organic. Organic, I guess. Okay. Alrighty. So what my logo is, it's a tree transforming into a brain. So I know it looks like broccoli, and I know it looks like cauliflower. It could be burnt broccoli, burnt cauliflower combined together to try to make it look like something that you may have overcooked for too long. But yeah, so it's essentially a tree transforming into a brain. So when it comes to the branding aspect, I wanted to make sure that it's something that, really resonated with me and obviously tells a story. So, like the slogan, growing your business is all in your mind. So basically having that belief is already within you, and actually turning it into something is what we essentially help you with an organic mindset agency in terms of really helping you, get the inner thoughts out when it comes to really branding your business properly. So that's what it is essentially. So when I came up with the name organic, it was just something that you hear a lot when it comes to networking. You hear it a lot when it comes to health and wellness. And you just hear the term organic growth, organic connections, organic everything. And then the mindset aspect of it is another term you hear a lot. It's like, okay, growth mindset, Mamba mentality, Kobe Bryant, for example. The mindset is when you're setting your sales goals, when you're setting your goals when it comes to, working out every day or whatever it is you're doing, it's that mindset that gets you going. So it just flowed together. And with the color schemes, the green means health, wealth, and abundance. So that's pretty much what it means in that aspect. What does your slogan really tell us? So anybody here that has a slogan, if you don't mind typing in the chat, I just want to take a quick look at people's slogans. So yeah, to answer that question, why I chose those colors, it's just because, Black really represents, independence, strength, power, A lot of different aspects in that. Green, like I said, health, wealth, and abundance. But I wanted to go with the lime green because it jumps out. It's loud, it's bold, it's different. It's something that really captivates the mind. And white's a universal color that obviously represents, whether it could be purity, whether it could be, several different aspects in that aspect. So that's why I chose those colors. Okay, so I'm looking at some of the slogans here that we have. Mapping your vision, love it. And I have to learn a little bit more about what you do, obviously, to on a one-to-one to really get a assessment, chat GPT to figure it out. Okay. Step out and overwhelm into action. Okay, I like that. I like that one a lot. Feed your mind and unlock your full potential. I really love that one because it's really diving into what you do, which is great. Okay. All right. So once again, what I like to use for my slogans is our ideas enhance your online visibility. So basically telling you exactly what we do. So, our ideas will help you, captivate a nice message when it comes to crafting up a message and whatnot. So that's one thing. Growing your business is all in your mind. That's the one that I absolutely love because it really tells a story and it really resonates because, the tree and the brain are two things that constantly grow and they go hand in hand in one aspect where it's like the growth of the tree comes from inside the ground and it continues to grow. Meanwhile, I look at your brain, that's always going to be retaining knowledge and whatnot, so I look at it in that aspect. And then think organic and think organic mindset, those are two hashtags I like to use a lot because it really I tie these hashtags to my branding, so that's pretty much what I do. All right. So as Mike said, when it comes to, rewards and, incentives, things like that, I like to ask who likes traveling here? Really important. Anyone here like traveling? Just type in the chat. Love it. Yes. Okay, great. Okay. Reason why I asked this question is because you book a consultation call with me today. Next. By scanning this QR code, and you'll get a free hotel savings card. Again, book a call with me today, you'll get a free hotel savings card. So we actually partnered with the travel agency and we're able to hook up these nice incentives. And then obviously if someone utilizes the services that we have, then we have some really nice travel incentives as well. So, you can scan the QR code, book it on my calendar, set up a meeting with me, and you'll get a free hotel savings card. So that's just something I want to offer. And like Mike said, it's definitely something that it's open for anyone to get into the calendar and connect, and that's that. So yeah, so Mike, back to you. If anyone has any questions or anything like that, we have 10 minutes left, so any questions want to come in and take it from there. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. Jeff was saying how he had a meeting with me and the savings cards are legit. So again, in this economy, people do want to save. So, book a call and yeah, you get a hotel savings card. It's a win-win situation. Go ahead, Mike. Oh, you got to unmute, my friend.
Unmute?
You're good now.
Okay. Oh, I just said I gave you the meaning of life, but then I forgot it. Do you have any questions about branding, messaging, storytelling? My favorite color? I don't have any pets. There's a dog out in the park in front of the house that likes me a lot. Yes,
Yes,
Laurel.
Dr. Laurel.
Yeah, this is a question for Mike. You were talking about like the story about like how did you learn that? And then like your closer story, your origin story. I mean, what if that's kind of one and the same?
How did you learn? Well, your origin story is kind of why you do what you do. I know your background in physical therapy. You're doing it. Something happened. It doesn't really have to be something happened to you as far as the sports go. It could be something that happened to somebody else and you witnessed it and said, I'm never going to let this happen to anybody else again. And that could be another type of origin story where
Okay,
the origin of your business. That's
So,
one
like,
possibility.
the how did you learn that could be related to my personal experience. And then the origin story is maybe working with one of my clients and kind of realizing, like the impact that I had on my client made a huge difference in her life. And that's, kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing, kind of that kind of thing.
I would say that, I have when I decided to become a guidance counselor, that's what my degree is in. I have an origin story where I was out on a Friday night and I saw some mom with her teenage son and the mom's boyfriend. And I'm just looking at this poor teenage kid. I said, that kid needs me. And that's my origin story for that last push to say, yes, I need to get into guidance counseling because that kid needs me. I have my origin story, why it was good for me, but that's also the same type of thing. It was somebody needs me. And it's equally impactful as an origin story. And how you learned it could be the technical side of what you do.
Okay. Because I have another origin story about quitting my job and, growing my business, but it's like, it doesn't really, I don't think it's applicable in a lot of cases.
Well, I've seen you speak on a lot of topics, and that's a good thing. So you'll have a different one for each. You can have one, if you're talking business, then you can talk about why you walked away from what you were doing, why it didn't give you satisfaction anymore. And that's the business context if you're talking to people about growing a business. Whereas if you're talking to parents who have teenage daughters who play field hockey and they're just not something, then your origin story of why I need to work with teenage athletes, that's a separate origin story than why you decided to quit your job.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So tailor the stories to the audience that you're talking to.
Like I said, I think you've got a gold mine as far as speaking directly to parents about the parent teenage athlete dynamic.
Mhm.
I think you've got a gold mine there.
Thank you. I have a podcast coming up this afternoon.
Awesome.
I'll share it with you.
Yeah, please do.
Stories.
Love to check it. I actually have a question I want to address in the chat, actually, that's sent from Sarah. It says, is there a reason why you put the white and the black beside each other to complete the brain and the tree? Is there some message behind the contrast? Just wondering. So the reason why, that's a really good question. The reason why I chose, the two different colors next to each other is because I feel that, connecting everything together, there's self-doubt and there's always the certainty. So what this represents is the certainty and the self-doubt actually coming together to formulate something that's actually going to, last and make a difference. So that's the reason why I chose the two different color schemes in the logo, if that answers your question.
Yeah, I didn't notice right away that it was a brain. Now I can't not. It's kind of like a 3D poster. I can't unsee it now.
Yeah,
Jim.
definitely.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Thanks, Jeff. People that are hopping off. Hopefully everyone got everyone's contact information as well. And I'll put my information in the chat put it to one person, send it to everyone in the chat as well.
So Clayton, when you and I first crossed paths, you were just kind of beginning a journey, or what? You were in the beginning of something when you first came around.
Yeah, that's right. Just kind of, I was kind of, probably a wandering phase, we'll call it. So I started a venture here about 3 months ago, and it's been, it's actually been pretty decent. I've already gotten past the hurdle of having my first invoice paid. So, and I've had a few others since then. So that's been great. And so it's a very, I guess, kind of a local physical service. There's a lot of other folks that I've been on calls with that, they have coaching or consulting services, so they can coach anywhere. I'm fairly local because my service is related to drone videos and real estate. And I actually stumbled onto producing videos for real estate projects. So, and that's actually been my main business for the last 3 months, I guess, since I started.
Oh, and how do you promote that? You go direct marketing to realtors? Where do you?
Yeah, I started off with some personal contacts because I had some background in real estate investing and known a few realtors, and I had a contact that worked for an auction company. And before I started, I took him out for lunch and I said, "Hey, what kind of service do you need?" And kind of asked him to design basically a package for him. And turned out he would be a golden client of mine. So and then I've had a couple of others since then. But yeah, I just basically have started out with personal connections and haven't really done a lot of broader marketing yet, aside from some social media posts on LinkedIn. And I just started to embrace Instagram after avoiding it like the plague for years. So just started posting on there.
And some people have their favorite social media. Some people blast on all of them like there's no difference. I'm a TikTok, LinkedIn guy. Born again on both. It's Instagram. I don't know. I'm still working on it, but that's good. And what's kind of the messaging of like the urgency to use your services?
That's something I've kind of been thinking of. It's mostly, I guess, it's to help people to upgrade their marketing for real estate, because there's still some realtors that are taking pictures with their phone. I've come across some listings that have pictures where you can see the flash or the reflection in the windows, and there's a lot of them that aren't taking aerial images yet. So that's where I come in. I come from a surveying and mapping background and civil engineering, so I've got a lot of construction experience, and so I kind of bring that in. I can bring in some aerial maps and I can make maps on Google Maps or Google Earth, and I incorporate that into the videos that I make. So it's been
there's definitely a parallel there. Like Lori, who was on the call before, she's talking about this. What she does is so many different things. She started with a chemical engineer, and then she has a business consulting, and we were talking about it. I said, there's a parallel between chemical engineering and what you're doing. And she said, you read my mind. That's why the idea of clairvoyance. She's like, you're reading my mind. I said, yes, the chemistry of mixing so many ingredients. I guarantee you that civil engineering background and the surveying, there's a parallel there between the process of the engineering and what you do to benefit to. Is this the homeowners or investors? Who's the end user here?
Mainly realtors, agents, and property managers so far. And I'm looking at, targeting developers and bigger commercial agents, people basically to try to swim in the bigger pools of money rather than the small properties where you've got it just kind of becomes a bit of a hamster wheel chasing smaller dollars at that point. So, but yeah, that's kind of my target.
Let me hook you up with Jordy Ketchum. He mostly does Legal Shield now, but he does have, because he's done like commercial installations for sprinklers systems. I was talking about Bret Hart, the pro wrestler. He did Bret's house. That's why I still remember. So I'll connect you to Jordy. So maybe you
terrific. Thank you.
You're welcome. So Bruce, what is by business optimization? What exactly? Sounds like you wear a lot of hats in what you do.
Well, I do. I focus on operations in small manufacturing companies. And so if you understand operations in a business, it's the biggest piece of the pie. And so there's a lot of lanes I can cover, and I choose to focus in some of those. But it's typically small manufacturing companies that are struggling with rapid growth. And then I provide operations leadership or leadership support. Sometimes I got somebody in the chair that's just in tall grass. They're just in over their head. And so sometimes the engagement is all about coaching and mentoring. And other times it's a lot more strategy, a blend of strategy and tactile focus. So you're coming up with the strategy and then you're helping that. You're rolling up your sleeves and implementing it because you need to wear so many hats in small businesses. But once I get into a client, everybody wants to talk to me. The marketing people want to talk to me. The sales people want to talk to me. HR wants to talk to me because I've just been in enough different manufacturing environments. I bring lots of perspective. So that's the the focus of what I do, and those engagements are typically at least 6 months, and sometimes I just finished one up that was almost 2.5 years working with a client, and I can only work with one or two at a time because of the time commitment to a client.
Is that deep?
So
So
it's
that's
kind
what
of
you're
in that
talking about.
20 to 30 hour a week window.
Wow, that's pretty deep. For how long of a time?
Like I said, it's usually at least 6 months, but a lot of times it's longer than I'm going to talk with a guy here in a week and a half that we had an initial conversation, and one of his questions was, how long are you going to stay in the game? Because he's thinking longer term engagement. So,
How big
yeah,
of a scale of manufacturing? So you were saying misconceptions that people think you're only manufacturing, but the personal element of making the operation go is a lot bigger.
well, because when I get in the engagements, a lot of what I'm doing is coaching and mentoring people in general. I mean, the client I just finished up with, they chose to, on my last day, they chose to put a group of people together that they believed that I had positively impacted in some way through coaching and teaching while I was there. They wanted to bring those people out to lunch with me on the last day as sort of a recognition of all that. So there's just a lot in that lane. I never really saw myself as a coach. And then outside of the business, and let me add to that real quickly. When I'm in that arena and I'm talking to those clients and all that coaching and teaching, it's all storytelling. I'm telling them stories all the time. And people